Welcome to News Briefs. It's Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. Today we're digging into the essential information from various sources, aiming to give you clarity and the key insights you need.
Exactly. We want to highlight some maybe surprising connections, the crucial takeaways, cut through all the noise so you feel informed without being overwhelmed.
That's good.
We've got quite a bit on U.S. policy, economic trends, and some really interesting tech advancements, too.
Okay, let's jump in. First up, U.S. politics and economics. The debt limit debate. It's still going on, right?
It is. That critical X date, when the government might actually run out of cash, still pretty uncertain.
Any time frame?
Well, the estimates are floating between mid-August and possibly early October.
So quite a range.
A big range. And the thing is, factors like cash flow deficits, how the economy's actually doing, future revenue, even those tariffs we keep hearing about, they could all shift that date around. It's a delicate balance.
Right, tariffs keep popping up. Before we get deeper into the economy, though, what about international pressures? I saw notes about Nato contributions.
Ah, yes. Definitely been a strong push there, particularly from President Trump.
Aimed at specific countries.
He's been quite direct, yeah. Spain was mentioned specifically regarding its defense spending being around 2.1% of GDP.
And the outcome?
Well, the headline is that NATO leaders did agree to increase spending, aiming for 5% of GDP.
5%, that's a big jump.
It is, but the timeline is long-term. We're talking 2035. So while it's a commitment, the immediate practical effect might not be as dramatic as, say, the initial statements.
Okay, so a future goal. Let's zoom out then to the wider U.S. economy. What's the picture looking like now?
So the first quarter was definitely sluggish, but the expectation is for a rebound in the second quarter GDP. Could be 3 to 4% growth.
That sounds pretty strong.
For the quarter, yes. But the projection for the whole year is more modest. I think 1.4 to maybe 1.7%. And there's likely a slowdown coming towards the end of the year, maybe down towards 1% growth.
And recession risk.
It's still there.
Still there. About a 1/3 chance, according to the sources, which, isn't insignificant.
Yeah.
And the Fed looks like they're holding rates high.
How high?
Projected at 4.25 to 4.50%. Probably until the last quarter of 2025. Those tariffs you mentioned earlier, they're part of the reason why.
And high rates, that means mortgages stay expensive.
Exactly. Expected to be near 6.5% by the end of the year. That definitely keeps pressure on the housing market, business investment, things like that.
Okay. From the economy, let's pivot. Immigration policy seems to be seeing some major shifts. Project 2025 came up in the notes. What is that exactly?
It's a very comprehensive plan. Basically, a blueprint to significantly tighten up immigration policies across the board.
How so? What are the main parts? Key elements include revoking the Flores Agreement. That's the court settlement that limits how long migrant children can be detained.
Right.
Also reinstating the Remain in Mexico program. And a really big push to increase detention capacity up to 100,000 beds. They're even talking about using temporary tent facilities.
Wow, 100,000.
Yeah. And it's not just about enforcement. The plan also aims to cut back on legal immigration that includes family visas and work visas like H-2 and H-1B. There was even mention of a potential switch to just halt the bureaucratic processing.
Oh, complete halt. That's drastic.
It signals a really fundamental shift in approach, yes.
And while that's a plan, there's also new regulation affecting truckers that started today.
That's right, an immediate change, a new English proficiency requirement for commercial truck drivers.
And that has a specific impact.
A disproportionate one on the Hispanic community, definitely. Over 23% of truckers are Hispanic, and about 4% are estimated to have limited English proficiency.
What are the consequences for them?
They're pretty severe. Fines up to $5,000, potentially losing their license, and even sanctions against their employers.
That sounds like it could cause major disruption.
It's expected to, particularly on key freight routes, like Laredo to Dallas is one often mentioned. We're likely to see some economic ripples from this pretty quickly.
And beyond the direct economic impact, are there broader societal effects being reported?
Yeah, the sources connect these policy shifts to, well, a rise in fear within the Latinx community.
How's that showing up?
Tangibly. Reports of sales dropping pretty dramatically, 40–50% for Latinx merchants, especially noted in Texas. And also a specific 4% decline seen in Hispanic spending on food and beverages.
So fear translating directly into economic behavior.
It seems so. It highlights that connection between policy, community anxiety, and its effect on consumer spending and certain labor sectors.
Okay, let's shift gears now to something different, technology and science. AI in healthcare seems to be moving incredibly fast.
Oh, absolutely. Leaps and bounds. The sources mention nearly 1,000 FDA-approved AI medical devices already out there.
1,000. What are they
A
doing?
lot in diagnostics, helping detect things like polyps during colonoscopies or cardiac arrhythmias. AI is also really speeding up the drug discovery process.
And beyond
We're
diagnostics.
seeing smart surgery innovations, things like surgical instruments that can compare the current procedure against vast AI data sets in real time, or real-time tissue analysis during an operation, even creating digital twins of patients for personalized surgical planning.
Digital twins.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Really changes the game.
it's quite revolutionary.
Okay, one more area to cover international relations. The situation between Iran and Israel. Sources describe it as escalating.
Yes, the term used is often a war of attrition. You've got ongoing Israeli airstrikes and then responses from Iran with missiles and drones.
What about Iran's nuclear program? There were strikes aimed at that, right?
There were. But the reports on the damage are conflicting, which is interesting. U.S. intelligence seems to suggest the damage was limited.
But others disagree?
Right. Other sources, including some cited from Israel and even Iranian opposition groups, claim the impact was actually significant, quite devastating in parts. So it's hard to know the full picture.
Adds uncertainty and complicating things further.
President Trump has announced a meeting with Iran scheduled for next week, and relatedly, the FBI has apparently reassigned agents to counterterrorism duties following some recent arrests of Iranian citizens. So, lots of moving parts there.
It really shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? From U.S. policy debates and economic shifts affecting daily life to these tech breakthroughs and these tense international situations. We've covered a lot of ground.
We certainly have. And it makes you think, doesn't it, considering this rapid pace of change we're seeing across policy, technology, the economy, global relations. Maybe the question for you, the listener, is how understanding these complex, interconnected dynamics might shape your own perspectives, perhaps your decisions in the coming weeks and months.